Hey everybody, I'm Eric Oberembt, and you're listening to Be Authentic or Get the Fuck Out. We talk about real shit, what's on our minds, and don't give a fuck if it makes you feel a little uncomfortable. So sit back, strap in, and get ready for some real shit. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Be Authentic or Get the Fuck Out. I'm your host, Eric Oberembt. I'm really excited about today's episode. I want to get some stuff out of the way first. First of all, sponsored by D&M Roofing, because we fucking pay for everything. And also Roofers in Recovery. They don't give us any money, but we give them all of ours that we can. Also, as we start every one, the shit that I stole from Andy Frisella is we don't have sponsors here. One of the reasons we don't have sponsors here is so I can say whatever the fuck I want, and so that my guest can say whatever the fuck they want without worry of recourse. So because of that, there is an ask for payment to please, if you enjoy the show, if you enjoy the podcast, if you've got anything from it, please share it. Please share it with your friends. Please share it so other people can hopefully get something out of it, and hopefully it can enrich somebody else's life. So I got that out of the way. I want to introduce my guest today, Mike Bear. Mike, thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, thanks, man.
This is awesome.
Yeah, welcome to LA.
Yeah. You know, I've never been here.
In your life?
No.
That's a good thing.
I've never had any reason to. And it was actually kind of an ongoing joke that, like, how is Eric going to be received in Hollywood, in LA? Like, how is Eric going to be received? So I brought, just to get reactions, I did a video last night, and just to get reactions, I brought, like, all of my Lions Not Sheep shirts and, you know, America, just to see if...
Yeah, did you?
No, I haven't worn it yet. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because, I mean, we had breakfast lunch today, and I was like, I wasn't going to show up and that there. But that's generally how I roll, though. It's usually workout shorts, sandals, and some type of offensive T-shirt just to get reactions because it's fun.
Yeah. Push some buttons.
Yes, I like pushing buttons. What I've learned is that pushing buttons usually gets interesting topics started. And so the first thing I wanted to say was thank you for taking the time this morning to get together. Yeah. Because I think that was a really good prelude to kind of what we were going to get into. And it gave us an opportunity to spend a little bit of real time together to get to know each other so that this was a little more natural and not forced.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. I felt like I got to know you.
Yeah, you too.
A little bit.
A little bit more.
Right. Like that was fun. So the first thing I wanted to ask you about was, do you remember the first time we met? Because I do, and it was hilarious.
Explain it to refresh my memory.
So it was at two or 3 years ago at the first Storm into the New Era event, right? And we were at the stadium at the meet and greet thing the night before it actually started, right?
Right.
And so I was there doing whatever I was doing, and I kind of rolled in late to that part of the event and didn't have anywhere to sit, whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
And I just went and found a table and ended up just sitting next to you.
That's right.
And you and I just kind of bullshitted for about 10 or 15 minutes while they were setting up. I had no fucking idea who you were. No clue. We're just chatting. And then all of a sudden Kim's up on stage and she's like, and I'd like to introduce Mike Bear. And then you stand up and start walking. I'm like, who's this fucking guy?
How did he get the call? Yeah, I remember that now. I didn't know anyone at this roofing event.
No. Because that's not your world.
No,
that's not your world at all. But that was a cool event.
Yeah, it was.
And I was really happy that I got to meet you there. And then we got to do. Oh, I know what I was going to ask. I got a bunch of shit I want to talk about. But so a while after that, there was a guy that you guys were going to send to treatment on Dr. Phil. That was out of Lincoln, which was like 45 minutes down the road from me.
Right.
Because I ended up going and meeting with him half a dozen times.
Wow.
To get him to make sure that he was going to AA meetings,
right? To
get his card signed, and like he was having to report back to me to give me info, like he actually went, so that we could report back to you and Dr. Phil to make sure that he did, so that you guys could make a decision on whether or not he went to treatment. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember. It was I called you because it was to see if the guy was really willing.
Yeah.
Was he?
Depended on the day.
Yeah. That's a problem.
Yeah, depending on the day.
Yeah, if only we could do that in life.
Do you remember if you went?
I don't recall.
Okay, I was just curious.
No, but that was, I remember that now. Yeah. Got on the phone with you because I told Dr. Phil, I think I got Kim on the phone and I said to her, hey, do you have anyone in Nebraska?
Yeah.
area.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
We went and met at truck stops.
That's awesome.
Like, yeah,
Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, no, it was great. I mean, it was just, I always enjoy that anyway, right?
Yeah.
But it was just kind of an interesting dynamic. And then like we all do, we get busy and I forgot to follow up.
Yeah, I totally spaced out.
Yeah, I forgot to follow up.
I should have sent you flowers.
I do love flowers.
I bought you breakfast this morning.
I'll
so
take
we're
it.
good.
Yeah, it's a good deal. So real quick, let everybody know that doesn't know who you are and kind of what you do today.
Sure. So, yeah, I've been in mental health for over 20 years. Started a treatment center called Cass Centers maybe 18 years ago, 17 years ago. I have worked as an interventionist. I was an alcohol and drug abuse counselor. More of my heart in my work has been as an interventionist. I spent about 8 to 10 years doing that. And then I found myself working a lot in kind of the entertainment industry, and my career kind of evolved into helping people be who they are and live in their art, and started working with bands when they would break up and more crises work.
Oh, okay.
So it evolved over time. And then I met Dr. Phil, and he'd asked me to go on his program, and that became kind of a rocket ship about 3.5 years ago, and wrote a few books.
Yeah.
He's become a great mentor of mine, but they call me Coach Mike on Dr. Phil.
Oh, that was the question I was going to ask first. Do I call you Mike?
Or Coach Mike?
I'm not going to call you Coach Mike.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
That was good. I mean, do people call you Coach Mike here? Like
The majority.
Do they?
I would say, so the Dr. Phil demos, which it's the #1 daytime television show, and a ton of people watch free TV.
Sure.
And it's women, I would say above the age of 50.
Okay.
So if I go to a casino, all the dealers and pit bosses seem to know me.
Oh, that's funny.
When I'm walking by, or flight attendants.
Oh, sure.
I was just in Arizona at Cheesecake Factory, and a woman walked in and she's like, "I know you." It's usually like, "I know you look familiar. Who are you?" And I only started doing television about 3 years ago, so it's pretty new for me.
Do you like it?
I like aspects of it for sure.
Okay.
It's very different than I thought.
Yeah.
And it's different depending on the type of platform you're on. So with TV, you have to create maximum impact in a really short period of time,
right?
And have sound bites that are effective. And so someone back home is learning and inspired, hopefully,
right?
And to also be authentic. So at first, I would say I had a lot of nerves around it, but then I've gotten pretty comfortable. Like I didn't realize my resting face is pretty bitchy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I had to realize, I got to start to.
Yeah.
Because when I stare at someone, I can kind of stare.
I do that too.
Yeah.
I know I do that. Like she asked me if she's taking pictures. She's like, "Can you smile?" I'm like, "I am."
Yeah.
She's like, "Try teeth." I'm like, "No."
No, or they say smiles. You smile with your eyes.
Oh.
So like I'll be like,
"Where you been,
whenever,
Rex?" Yeah.
Yeah. So I just go, and that feels better.
That feels better. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't feel quite so mean.
No.
That's hilarious. Out of all of the things that you do now, because you do a lot.
I do.
Right? I mean, you've got the books, you've got the show, you've got the Cass Center, you've got
speaking, and
right, you've got speaking, and yeah. Out of all of those right now, because we were talking about it this morning a little bit at breakfast, but out of all of those things, what do you think is the most fulfilling for you right now that helps the most people?
Yeah, well,
or not. That's two different things.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I'm usually most fulfilled about stuff that doesn't make me money.
Right.
So I would say a lot of my energy.
I think that's normal.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I wish it flipped around at times, but like, I mean, a few weeks ago, I was creating an animation based upon a cloud who is judging himself. It was like kind of shit I wish I knew as a kid, and worked with an animator and put together like a whole little creation.
So why animation?
Well,
I don't know much about it.
I've never done it. So I always am attempting to try new things that I haven't done.
Sure.
And that was a good challenge.
Yep.
I also love what we do at Cass Centers. I run a family group here.
Okay.
So I started doing that 5 weeks ago, so I could still be in touch with. The thing I like to make sure is that I am still doing what I love and why I love it.
Yep.
I don't want to play a life coach.
Right.
I'd rather be one.
Right. That's deep. I just thought of that because I bet a lot of people think that too. You know what I mean? Like, or you would feel that way that you're playing one on TV because, but like to our conversation this morning, like you got away from being in those intimate conversations, right?
Well, I think it's more when you're writing books.
Oh, okay.
You end up in a deep state where you're writing and you're trying to be different than everyone else. What I do typically with my books is I'll have random people come to my house. So I test all my concepts.
Okay.
Like I'll put out on Facebook, hey, if you're struggling with something in your life, I'm taking 20 people and in 45 minutes, my last book was called One Decision.
Okay.
So basically it was how to make one decision to change your life today. Like what is that one decision you have to make that you've been avoiding? And so I would have a group of, people come over one by one and I would record them and I would help them make one decision. Before that, I thought that I was going to do kind of and Samson, who works with me, knows I was creating like universe decides parties where I would have people's issues under plates at a table and everyone would wear a mask and role play someone's issue and you never knew what the universe decided that night. But that was really hard to put into anything that someone could really watch. I had like kind of aspirations of, oh, maybe this could be a Vegas show, like very impromptu self-help.
Yeah.
So like I'm always playing.
Yeah.
I try to play.
Yeah.
If I'm not playing,
right,
I seem to lose the passion.
The passion. Yeah, I get that. That's all. So how you told me this morning, but for everybody else, when did you get sober? When you were
22.
22.
Yeah.
Which again, we talked about it a little bit, like that's a little bit crazy to me.
Yeah.
So when did, and again, you're on the accelerator program as we talked about, but when did that really start becoming a problem and how long did you go before you?
Yeah. So I started doing drugs heavily, I would say 16.
Okay.
And I played basketball and I was pretty good at it. So, it kind of kept a lot of people at bay. I went to this high school called Mater Dei. It's a big sports for football and basketball. And started dabbling in weed. I mean, I cannot imagine. Right next to my house, I don't know if you've been into a head shop before here. They're no longer head shops where they would have bongs in the corner.
Right.
They literally have 100 different types of weed that affect you. There's the weed to sleep. There's the weed to wake up. There's the weed to focus.
Right.
I'm so grateful.
Right.
It wasn't around when I was using.
Yeah.
I would have been one of those who would have just been living in that space.
Yeah.
But I eventually just started dabbling in different drugs, go to a lot of rave parties, and then methamphetamine is what took me down.
That was what got you.
Yeah, which is, I'm glad it was meth because it accelerates your dysfunction.
Sure.
It accelerates your bottom.
Yeah.
Whereas alcohol, it can take someone, 20 to 25 years before they start.
Because mine was booze and coke.
Okay.
And like you can go for a while.
You can go for a while.
Yeah, you can go for a while on that. And I did.
Did you smoke it?
A couple times. I started to try and figure it out.
You shoot it up.
I never shot it up. Yeah. I did the old tinfoil smoke and all that a few times.
Yeah.
And that actually kind of scared me a little bit because I started having the thoughts of, how we have the thoughts of, when you read the big book talk about drinking like a gentleman.
Right.
That wasn't doing coke like a gentleman.
Right.
Right. Like that's a motherfucker that's got a problem.
Yeah.
Right. In my mind. And I'm in the middle of that. And I'm like, gentlemen snort coke through really large straws. Like,
right. They don't smoke it out of
tinfoil. That's what fucking degenerates do.
Yeah.
Like, so I did have like that moment of clarity, I guess, that would be a problem if I continued down that path.
Yeah. It's, it'll catch you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so sneaky.
It is. It is. I was the only, 310-pound cokehead.
Oh, wow. You were heavy.
I was huge. I was 310. When I went to rehab, I was 310. And, but what I would do, everybody couldn't figure out why. I was really bloated. I've got great fat pictures that I keep on my phone just to remind myself so I don't do that again. But I would I would not eat for like 2 or 3 days, give or take. And then I would just eat pizzas for like a day, right? Because I figured out that I usually had a day off. I had 1 day off during the week where I wouldn't use or drink.
Right.
And that was usually like a Wednesday.
Do you still eat pizza?
No.
At all?
I'll eat mod pizza with like a gluten-free crust or a cauliflower crust. Yes. Yeah, but I can't eat anything doughy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
it sends you back to it, or you just
oh
feel
no, not
sick?
because of that. So when I lost all the weight, I did Atkins.
Yeah.
So I lost like 100 pounds, and all I ate was bacon, cheese, and eggs. And so then my cholesterol went through the roof.
Right.
But I was 100 pounds lighter.
Yeah.
But I was gonna die from cholesterol.
Right.
Yeah. So like, but now my insides are so screwed up. Like I can't eat cheese. I can't eat dough. I can't eat anything, or I pay for it for like forever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You feel
so
it the next day, that night.
I feel it an hour later.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's
You
actually
know what's really helpful if you ever want to cheat and try it? Because I had similar. Have you ever had oils of oregano?
no.
It's basically a way to eat something that's really going to like I don't eat a lot of sugar or
Right.
cheese or
Right.
pizzas.
Right.
But if I do, I take 2 oils of oregano afterwards, and it really helps.
Really?
Sounds crazy.
Write that down. Oils of oregano.
Oils of oregano.
What is it?
I guess it's the oils of an oregano.
So it's an oil, though.
Yeah, it's like it comes in pill form, or it comes in like kind of a syringe type.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And any vitamin shop sells them, and they're really, really nice.
All right, I'm gonna look
Whenever
into
I
that.
travel internationally, I always bring oils of oregano with me because you can get
Yeah.
an upset stomach when you're
Yeah.
eating something new
Yeah.
or different.
I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
Thank you. So something that I wanted to dive into a little bit, because on the flight over here, I was trying to listen to a couple of things that you've done just to get some more insights into you and who you are a little bit. And I listened to one of your podcasts where you're talking about starting over and doing the steps again. And I thought that was really interesting. And I kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit. For people that, a lot of people that watch and listen to our show are in recovery. I'd say probably about half. But I've been sober for about 13 years, and I've never fully went back and done the steps before again. And I always made excuses because I was like, I don't need to do a fucking another 4th and 5th step. I do a 10th step.
Let me tell you.
Right.
Let me tell you. Because I'm still doing my amends.
Yeah.
Way harder.
Way harder.
Than, yeah, like you get sober, you get to say, well, it was a fuck up and I was
Right.
on drugs or alcohol.
Right.
When you're sober,
You don't have any excuses.
you have to make amends. And you feel like the other person maybe did you dirty.
Right.
But you still have to make amends.
Yeah.
Is way more difficult. And I've had to make some of those amends and not gotten reactions that I wanted. But it's more about clearing my side of the street.
Of course. Yeah. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
How's that been for you though? Has it been, are you happy that you're doing it again?
The steps?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
great.
okay. Yeah.
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 It's like it gives a level of humility.
Yes.
And we're always evolving. So recovery today is very different than 13 years ago.
Sure.
And I don't know how old your kids were back then, or
Not alive.
not alive, right?
Yeah.
So, you're not dealing with other parents or
Right.
schools or
Right.
protecting or your fears coming out or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so I found that working the steps really confronts
Yeah.
life now.
So I wrote down while I was listening to you, I wrote down a couple of things that you talked about when you were talking about some certain defects of character that you had. And I think they're really interesting because so many people have the same things, but don't talk about them because of the fear or the shame or the whatever it is.
Yeah.
And one of them that really caught me that I was really surprised about was you mentioned that you had that one of your defects of character was talking behind people's backs.
Yeah.
Like, that's interesting. Like, is that something that you've struggled with for a long time?
Well,
And tell me what that means to you.
it is, well, I'll use humor, which can be biting at times, and I'm learning as an adult today, and it's probably, I learned it from my mom, to be honest, is getting involved in gossip or talking about people,
Yeah.
there's nothing beneficial about it.
Right.
And so I'm real cognizant about not doing that, not doing that with other employees, not doing that when I'm on set, not doing that in life. So,
but it was clearly something that you used to do.
I still do. I don't think defects of character go away with a windshield wipe of believing God can remove them. Right. That's not how it works.
Right.
I think you have to take action and you have to practice really diligently and look back on the day and see where am I doing that. But yeah, for sure, I would say I would if I was frustrated with something, I would talk behind someone's back.
Yeah. And the next one that leads into kind of what I want to finish up talking about was about having conversations that are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I love that because that's why I started this show, was to be able to have a comfortable place to have uncomfortable conversations.
Right.
Because I think that when you have somewhat uncomfortable conversations, you end up gaining so much knowledge about the other human.
Yeah.
And I think that what's lacking in today's world is, in general, is understanding and empathy. And people just don't have it anymore because our country is our world, country, whatever you want to call it, is so divided. And it doesn't matter if you're in an industry or it doesn't matter what you're in, everything has become so divided, and everybody has to feel like they have to stand so goddamn firm on their side of the street that they're not willing to talk, listen, entertain, and understand that even if I disagree with what you have to say, that it's probably still coming from a good place with good intention. Even if I don't agree with it, I can still disagree with it, but I can listen, and people don't do that anymore.
Yeah, well, I think it takes two to tango, right? And so if one person's really open, I think a lot of people think they're more open than they are.
Sure.
A lot of people think that they're very open to hearing. But they really aren't. And I think that you're right. It's a great opportunity to hear and learn and listen. But I think the more I watch something on television or social media, the more I'm going to believe people won't do that, right? Like, I was on the way over here, I saw this podcast episode of someone that I follow that was talking about, like, the left is trying to cancel, and I'm like, first of all, overgeneralizing huge amounts of people is fucking nuts. In general. Now, I'm not a political dude. I'm like, have my own thoughts, feelings, whatever. But I think overgeneralizing anything is pretty not open. Because I don't think any one person can be like, and everyone has their own thoughts and feelings. I think
for me, it goes back to a matter of maybe I get very frustrated with the anger behind it, right? The anger and the fear behind it when people won't be open again to the conversation, though, even if they are pretending to be open-minded, right? But it always seems like there's some kind of anger and or fear behind listening or understanding another person's journey or another person's plight, right? Because honestly, the conversation that you and I had this morning at breakfast, and we were talking about when your book came out and how, it sold less copies, at a certain point in your life and everything. And like, we went back, Lexi and I went back to the hotel, and we literally talked about this for an hour, right? Because I don't understand all the different worlds. Right. And we all don't understand each other's worlds. And I was trying to, I want to understand, but I don't think that I ever used to. I don't think I ever actually used to want to understand. And I think that's the difference of where I'm trying to get to be a better human, is to want to understand someone's journey a little bit better.
Right.
And like what kind of pain they went through to get where they are, and even if they're still living with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I think in terms of character defects, I found I have a hard time having conversations with people when I know they're going to be disappointed, or I believe they're going to be disappointed.
Example.
Say I need to let someone go.
Oh, yeah, I don't like that.
Say I am not able to pay people as much as I thought I could pay them.
Right.
I couldn't call in the favor.
Right.
I pushed so hard for them. They helped me out tremendously, and they asked me for a favor, and I worked my ass off trying to do it. I feel bad when I think I'm disappointing another person, instead of having a conversation to see if it's actually at the level of disappointment.
Right.
Or is it a conversation?
Right. Are we making it out together? Bigger?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's, I've noticed that I've avoided, and now I'm trying to really engage.
There's nothing I hate doing more than having to fire somebody.
It's the worst.
Is it not the worst thing as a entrepreneur, owner, business owner, whatever you are? Like, that is the most awful feeling, even if you can't stand them. Like, even if you can't stand them.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not in that role anymore.
Right.
And I think there's other people. That's the great thing too. When you run a business, you figure out who
start delegating is good at that. Yeah.
Because you have to be careful. You know, there's HR issues, laws. You have to be mindful of what you say, and if you're emotional going into it, then But I've noticed. You know, I've looked up to some of my friends, and I'll say, like, what do you do now? Before, when someone worked for me, and say we had a falling out or they went somewhere else, I wouldn't have made a real effort to check in with them before they left. Now, I try to make a real effort, and if they were a good employee, let them know as well that, you know, there's if they change their mind, they could still work with us, and And now I actually have friendships, of people who have worked with me. But I think when I first started in business, I didn't get it. Because you learn a lot of this stuff along the way.
Yeah, you do. You absolutely do. I think that's something that people can get something out of that you don't know all of it in the beginning, right? Because a lot of people watching this might just be starting businesses, right? Because I do have a lot of people that listen and watch that are like in my industry that have just started, and they don't know that they don't have to know everything right away, right? Like, it takes time, and you have to fuck up, and you have to fail. You know, you have to have those trip ups, and to be able to learn.
And that's why the steps are so great. Is it goes back to, what's my part? Where do I owe amends? What are my character defects as a business owner? What can I control? What can't I control? How am I giving back and helping? You know, like, sometimes I've thought, okay, been doing this a long time. I'm a coach. Like, how do I show up more as a coach leader instead of a, did you do that leader? And sometimes it's really hard for me, just based upon the way I grew up, the way I experienced. Like, I try, you know, and it is grow or go. It's like, you gotta keep growing.
You have to be able to do both. Right. I mean, there's a
balance.
Dichotomy balance. There that you have to be able to do both. Because otherwise, I just got done reading Jocko's third book. The Leadership Tactics and Strategies. Is that what it was called? Yeah. And I don't know if you've read any of those. The first two was Extreme Ownership, and then the Dichotomy of Leadership. And those are both good. I was shocked at how good the third one was. Like, way better, I thought, than the first two. It gave so many practical ways to implement things into your business and into your life to get people to follow you and to lead you and to understand. One of the best examples that I took from it, that I implement daily now, and I don't try to trick the people that work for me. Like, I tell them, this is why I'm doing this, so that you can understand it, right? It's not a trick. And one of the best things I got from it was, stop making my own plans and then asking them to implement it. Make them come up with the plan so that they have ownership in the plan, bring it to me, and then if there's a couple of tweaks that need to be made, make them, and then get them to rebuy into the plan, because they're going to execute it at a much higher level when it's their plan than if it's your plan. And it seems so basic and so simple, but it resonated, and I brought it to everybody, and they're like, oh, that's amazing. Yeah, let's do that. I'm like, well, y'all read the same book as me. So like,
that's awesome.
Yeah. Like it wasn't a secret. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm glad you guys got it. But anyway, so one of the last things I wanted to talk about was the conversation that Lexi and I had after we left when we were talking about your book stuff. Okay. And if we get too personal here, we can cut stuff and whatever, but it was very, very, very interesting to me because I was really surprised when you told me the story about your book sales after you came out.
Yeah. And that's one variable.
No, but then that transformed into a conversation about doing your Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Right. And that kind of that dichotomy of living in these couple of different worlds.
Yeah.
And that was something like we sat down for an hour talking about this and how we related to that as well. And I don't even know how to ask the question, but I'm just so interested in how you balance that, right? And stay true to you, because that's what this is about, right? Is being authentic to who you are. And you're stating that sometimes that's hard because you're on TV and you have to, you know what I mean? And you have to put on a persona. Does that make sense what I'm trying to ask?
I think it's, when you run a business,
Yep.
it's very different than trying to build or run a personal brand.
Okay.
Very different. I never expected to ever sell books,
Right.
speak,
Right.
do a podcast interview. Never on my vision board was this.
Was that okay?
I wanted to do cool shit, and help a lot of people,
Right.
and be able to have bigger impact and create and work and just make magic. And so for me, it's been a bit of a shock to my system because I had worked with entertainers for so long. And I always thought, like, who the hell would ever want to really grow?
Right.
You know, like, wow. I mean, I get it if you're a musician, but as a life coach or as a counselor or advisor or whatever, you know, label is, or an inspirational thought leader.
Well, that's a good word. I like that. Yeah, that's good. Inspirational thought leader.
It's who are you? And then how do you show different elements of yourself that resonates? And because we are in the nature of, if you compared your business, if you compare your roofing business to someone else's business, you're really comparing widgets and systems and culture and whatever. When you start comparing yourself as a human, it creates this weird mental thing. At least it does for me.
Yeah.
Because you want to see what the competition is doing, so to speak, whatever the competition means.
Right.
What category you fall into. I've always felt like I've just fallen into my own category. Like they're not really, and I'm not really comparable to other people, I don't think. And but sometimes it's hard to express self and figure out what parts of me do I want to show?
Right.
What stories do I want to tell?
Right.
What stories should I not tell? What stories actually help people?
Yep.
And what am I sharing because I just think it's cool? Now you can do both.
Right.
But I'm constantly in this, like...
Do you think that you ever show a version of yourself that isn't true to you to appease other people?
Do I ever show a version of myself that isn't myself to appease? No.
Okay.
But I think I should sometimes. Like,
do you?
No, not. I mean, I do and I don't. I think sometimes you got to play the game, and this isn't my personal life. Okay, so sometimes there's personal life.
Yeah.
And not everyone is operating in the world authentically and with insight and has recovery in the steps and language and what have you. And so you have to be wise around what elements you feel comfortable with giving. Like, I've learned to have more personal boundaries because it's, at the end of the day, it's like, how do I feel about myself and what's good for me? If I'm not good for myself, I'm not going to be good for others.
Right.
But I can be on, it's a battle at times. Like, and it depends on the month. I've gone through phases in the last 3.5 years where I've felt like completely free.
Yeah.
And then I've gone through other phases where I feel a little more dark and like confused by it. And like, what's the point?
Right.
And why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Why am I trying to get people to like me? Why do I give a fuck if I'm inspiring to someone else or not?
Right.
Why does that matter?
Yeah.
It doesn't affect my self-esteem. At the end of the day, I have to be comfortable with myself, not what I do.
Right.
And so it's figuring out, who am I today? Mm-hmm. How do I show up today that I feel at peace with and comfortable with? And I could go the route of figuring out, what do people want? Now, if I'm ever trying to figure out what do people want, I lose myself.
Yeah.
And I know that about myself.
Yeah.
And I suffer.
Yeah.
So I just don't really do that. So I don't really.
No, I love that.
I really, but I also want to be respectful. I want to respect other people. So what I mean by that is.
What do you mean by that?
If I give, for example, I have this video and it has this song behind it where it's basically this chimey sound.
It's a what sound?
It's this. Do you want to see the video?
Chimey?
I'll show it to you.
Or Chinese?
I'll show you. Chimey. Chimey, all right? It's like a sound. And I'm going to play this for you. I'll show it to you. And I sent it to Samson, who's in the room right now. And I wrestled with him. Like, should I put this out? Should I not put this out? Is this appropriate? Is this my ego? Am I... if I could find it. Oh, here we go. Okay. So. Right? All it does is say pretty gay.
Yeah.
But I'm doing a fucking sport where I don't meet one other dude who ever says he's gay ever.
Right.
I don't meet one dude.
Right.
This is like a room full of thousands of men with testosterone.
Right.
So on one hand, I'm like, okay, I think it's fucking cool and kind of inspiring. But on the other hand, am I offending anyone? Like, am I doing this because I'm saying fuck you because I'm angry because I fucking hated myself growing up? Or am I doing this because I'm actually trying to inspire? And I have to look within myself to figure out, what is my motive?
So what was your motive there?
I still don't know yet,
Still
so I
don't
haven't
know?
posted it.
Got it.
So once I know my motive, then I feel better about it.
Yes.
But if I try to think, oh, this like I had a moment where I was like, oh yeah, that probably would be it probably would go. A lot of people would fucking share
absolutely it would.
Right? But then I'm doing that for that.
But why would it?
Because it's counterintuitive.
Right.
It's not expected.
Right.
But the truth is.
But would it for the right reasons is what
Correct.
I'm saying. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. But if I don't feel totally right by it.
Because somebody could hijack it.
Or why? Like, why do I need to do that? Am I really like, and that's where I wrestle. So I won't, my challenge is as the world goes, sometimes I just get like a little in paralysis because I'm like, okay, well, I want to make sure I'm coming from a good intention with what I do.
Yeah. See, in my mind, when I see that, and this is like outside straight white guy, fucking whatever, right? Like I see that as a guy that likes Mike. And I see that as you being like, fuck you, I'm proud of what the fuck I do. And if you don't like it, eat a dick.
Right.
That's how I see it.
Literally. Hey, now.
But that's how I see it.
Yeah.
But I can see how, I mean, you have to run it through your mind. But here's my question.
Yeah. And I'm choking the dude out and I won the tournament and got gold, right?
And I love that.
And then I thought, okay, well, but that's where I sometimes, when you say like, am I myself, I'm like, well, is that really me to like, I'm not a shocking.
No, you're not.
Dude, like I'm kind of like to be left alone.
Right.
So it's like. Dude,
but you're also not ashamed of who you are.
No, I'm not.
Right. So, I mean, like, I think that that's a big thing.
I'm not. But at the same time, I also don't want to be categorized as gay.
Right.
Because I'm not a part of, like I'm not, I like, even though I live in West Hollywood, It's just, it's like it's one word out of 1,000 descriptions.
Right. It's not, you don't want it to be your identity.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, will I offend a bunch of people in jiu-jitsu? Will I offend my professors? Will they feel disrespected?
Well, to be honest, fuck them if it offends them.
But the truth is, I get it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't see someone else posting, I'm straight, right?
Yeah.
So
maybe the song was a lot, but yeah.
Well, I couldn't find another sound. And then I'll send it. What I do is I'll send something to a few people to see if they get offended.
Right.
But I'm pretty, I've actually been more comfortable doing less.
Yeah.
And you know,
do you get in those runs though? Like I do sometimes, where you get in those runs where you do love doing more, and then you pull back and you're like, man, fuck.
Yeah,
like,
hell yeah.
Right? Like I do that where I'll go on a run for 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever it is, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, stop it already.
Yeah, chill out.
Yeah,
like,
stop
don't keep creating more stuff to go fix.
And then you stop though, and then everybody's like, where the fuck you been?
Right.
Where you been? And I'm like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, like I'll get hit up by people who are like, you should do videos on Instagram where you're talking inspiring into the like whatever, the video that's looking at me. And I help people for a living, but that's not Tony Robbins can do that.
Right.
And other people can do that. That's not me.
Right. That's
like
not your shtick.
That's not my shtick.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And so what I've realized is at the end of the day, what's most important is me and my, whatever the shtick is, personal life, professional life, and being myself.
Yeah.
Like, and that's why I wrote my first book, Best Self, and my best self's a wizard named Merlin, right? This is Merlin, right? So, like I have wizards all over my house just to remind me that I'm magical and that I'm a wizard and to be myself. And that works for me better than a pep talk video.
Right. Is that there's a reason why I'm asking this question, so don't call me crazy. Is that like is that your alter ego in your mind, in your mind's eye?
No, it's like my authentic self.
Okay.
So,
because I have done some work with my coach that I was telling you about, where I did all the different hypnosis stuff or whatever, and I have that other best version of myself that's in my brain or whatever, and I can activate them at certain times. So like before this interview, I activate them so that I'm that person that I'm supposed to be, that I, you know what I mean? Whatever it is. And that's why I asked the question, because I have that experience.
Right.
But that's not what it is.
Well, it is. Well, the way I look at it is our parents give us a name.
Right.
So you're calling me Mike.
Yep.
But if I strip everything back, and if I believe in my spirit or whatever, or soul or energy, and take away the skin, and I'm floating. Yep. What do I feel like?
Right.
And so for me, I feel like a fucking wizard.
Right.
And so like that is why I'm my logo is a wizard.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Like everything I do has like little wizards, and 99% of people have no idea. Like, oh, it's because that's Mike's best self.
Yeah.
But that to me is what I aspire to be. Is I look at it. Maybe it's similar to yours, where you're thinking, okay, well, what is the best version of myself, and what is that? Mine. And you create that with your coach. And there's a lot of different, really great ways to do it.
The one thing I wanted to close with was just not being selfish, but like, I just wanted to put this out there because it's something that I struggle with. And again, it goes back to the conversation Lexi and I had before. And I'm so intrigued when I have conversations with people that kind of have to live in two different worlds, and the stress that can cause on a human, right? And that you constantly have to kind of battle with it and make decisions on what you're going to say and how you're going to say it because of how you're going to be, whatever. And it hit me this morning how I relate to that, because I'm involved in a lot of these different groups, right? And I'm in AA, I'm in Roofers in Recovery, I'm in, different businesses, I'm in whatever. And then I'm in a lot of stuff with like Paul and Kim, and this different conference that we're doing. And I'm in this large group of people that are surrounded by me a lot, right? Like we're involved in a lot of things together, okay? And they are all very, have a very religious background, right? And that's,
I didn't even know that.
yeah, it's very much their, it's their way of life.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. And I go back to AA, and why I love AA is because they gave me permission to find my own higher power.
Yeah.
Right. And I did, and it's changed my life.
Right.
Right. And I always feel like the outsider in that group because I don't conform with their version. And it's why I always go back to AA. And I always thank my God that I found AA. And because of that, I was able to find my spirituality.
Yeah.
And I think that's such an amazing thing that people forget about. We talked a little bit in the very beginning about how certain people might not show up to AA or might leave early or whatever because they get scared, right, because of that. And I think that if anybody is scared that's watching, listening, whatever, and maybe they're like, you know, trying to find some strength here and, you know, to get sober or whatever it is, right, to ask for help, is don't let that part of recovery scare you. That's what I talk about a lot. Maybe you'll disagree with me, okay? And go and feel free because I love
Let me get
talking
the air
about
to
it.
turn down a little bit too.
Dude, cold as a motherfucker.
I know. Sorry, normally I like it really cold, but I like overkilled it.
Wow.
I said, "Oh my gosh, my throat's starting."
That was, holy cow, was that cold? But I'm so glad that is there for us and other people to be able to find that, because I don't know what your version of higher power is. I don't care.
Yeah.
Right. Like I care, but like I don't, like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What matters to me is that you found it and it helped you and it helped save your life. Right. And I mean, God, and all these people are going to watch this too. So it's going to be super awkward because I'm going to get a lot of phone calls, but there are times
I love them.
I love all of them. Like they're like family to me. All these people are like family to me.
But you feel like an outsider.
I feel judged.
Okay. Have you asked them if you're judged?
No. Because they'd all say no because they love me. And I'm sure that they don't judge me. I'm just telling you how.
But if you never, what if they do? I mean, what if you never asked? You have to ask, don't you?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, maybe the first step is asking.
Yeah.
I know that I work with someone very closely who is very, 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 I mean, I don't know if there's levels of born again, but she's a very, very born again woman. And
there's probably levels.
And I ask her.
Do you?
Yeah, is this going to get in the way of us doing this together? Do you have judgment towards me because I'm gay, right?
Right.
'Cause I've gone through these experiences. That's the difficult conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's easier to assume and avoid
Sure.
and not connect. And what they're about is love.
Right.
And we can easily push ourselves away or think we're different. And I would ask them.
I don't even think I'll have to after this. Like, I felt like I needed to get it out just to talk about it with somebody else maybe first. And I love doing shit on a public goddamn
Well, you know, and
platform,
that thing, no, it's a good point. And what I've come to realize, because I had this a lot with people, and then if I truly believe in whatever my higher power is or energy or universe or whatever, it ends up just playing it all out.
Right.
So
it does.
You know,
I 100% agree. You're absolutely correct. And again, I didn't want to correlate that that's the same thing, right? Like that's ignorant of me to, you know, to say that, but it hit me like very close to home because I don't think I ever really thought about it. I just felt outside and I was like, oh, like on a very minor level, it's similar. You know what I mean? Like
you mean not feeling a part of
yeah. Just like feeling like I'm in these two different worlds and I don't really belong in one. And
well,
it was
and
the reason I used.
Too, you know, the thing too, no, you're right. The reason to use is just
I never felt like I belonged anywhere. I never felt comfortable in my own skin. I never felt like I belonged in any group whatsoever. Like ever. The only person that I ever felt like I belonged to, and we talked about a little bit before, is my grandpa.
Right.
My grandpa was my best friend, and that was it. I had nobody else. Everybody else wanted me for money or drugs, right? Or the party at my house because I was divorced 100 times. And so Eric always have after hours at his house.
Yeah.
You know, so like that was all I was ever good for. And if I got sober, why would somebody want to fucking hang out with me? What good am I at that point?
Right.
I'm not dancing on a
So maybe
table
this is some of that residue.
Could be.
You know?
I don't disagree. Absolutely. I mean, I think this is something we live with our whole lives, and we're always finding new stuff, you know, to the point where, you know, being self-aware.
Yeah. I've always thought it was, and I mean, you ever meet someone and someone maybe doesn't remember them or something, and people can take it very personally, when there's nothing remotely personable about it, because we can catch people when literally they're thinking about something stressful, and they're like our memories are so all over the place.
Yeah.
But humans have a tendency to take everything as some sign.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really bad at that. I can't fucking remember anybody. I have to meet somebody like 3 times.
Yeah.
Before I have to start like being better at that, and like writing down names and like doing the little tricks or whatever that everybody talks about, because like I always forget it. Okay, we've went long enough. I've taken up enough of your time. I really appreciate you taking the time to be with me. The way that we end every show, though, is I like to give the guests the floor for the last 2 minutes. If there's anything that we forgot to talk about that you care about, that you want to make sure everybody knows about, it's something you want to plug, I don't give a shit, or anything you just want to leave people with.
Okay, well, thank you for coming out and us sitting in my office and doing this. And I think the theme lately that I've found is being uncomfortable. And in life, we are bound to get uncomfortable, whether it's today or whether it's when we have that conversation. And to figure out and realize that we can start getting more comfortable with what's uncomfortable, and that it's normal, and these feelings, they do pass, and we're able to get through them, and they're not going to kill us, and to just start getting comfortable being uncomfortable, because life will force us into these same feelings over and over and over again until we learn just to get comfortable. So that's just the lesson of the week that I've learned.
Love it. I think it should be more than a week. So let's run it a little bit longer than that. Mike, thank you very much for being here. Thank you. As we end every podcast, remember everybody, be authentic or get the fuck out.
Hey now.
Get the fuck out if you can't be authentic. Swipes.